mentioned like a month ago or some shit about how necrophilia is not illegal in India. Which was very weird to me. I don't even remember what happened on Twitter that made me look up necrophilia in India. I'm gonna be real fucking honest with you. I don't, something happened on Twitter that made me look this up, and I don't remember what it was. So there's this article that says, "Disturbing the Dead, Analyzing the Cases of Necrophilia in India." A horrific incident took place recently at the Karimganj Civil Hospital in Assam, India. Manju Rabi Das was a man who worked as a sweeper at the hospital. He sexually assaulted the minor girl's corpse, and further, he was taken under custody and was arrested.
Oh my god!
Disturbing attraction that some individuals have with dead bodies is referred to as necrophilia. Mostly, it's coupled with engaging in sexual activity with a strong desire to satisfy them for gratification. Various unconventional sexual interests are there, and in some cases, they might even be categorized under paraphilias. It can also include desires wherein, without consent of individuals, children, non-living objects, and even deriving pleasure from other partners' suffering and humiliation. This leads to physical and psychological harm. The term necrophilia was quoted first by Belgian physician Joseph Goulsain, and it originated from the Greek roots nekros, which means dead, and philia, which means attraction. It not only has sexual attraction towards corpses, but also it can include venting out either romantic or sadistic feelings towards corpses. Psychologically, necrophilia often stems from an inability to accept the death of a loved one that results in attempts to preserve the body, sometimes even in the form of hallucinations, wherein the person has a misguided belief in their continued presence and survival. You know, that kind of makes me wonder, chat. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a company that made anal plugs, and they offered putting your loved one's ashes inside the bulb of the anal plug so that you could still simulate having sex with your loved one even after they die. And like, you know, I can understand, right? Like, if you lose your husband, you might be like, oh, I want a piece of him with me forever, you know? But like, I feel like putting his ashes in an anal plug and then stuffing that up your ass is a bit far. That's a bit much. That's a bit weird. Maybe don't do that, honestly. The historical and cultural perceptions of necrophilia in the context of ancient Egyptians and medieval legends. From the ancient Egyptian era itself, many precautions were taken to safeguard against necrophilia with customs such as prohibiting the delivery of corpses of individuals to embalmers to prevent violation. Medieval legends include those of King Herod, King Valdemar, and Charlemagne, depict instances of post-mortem sexual relations, contributing to the complex historical narrative surrounding necrophilia. Alright, back to necrophilia. The exploration of necrophilia throughout history reveals a complexity and multiple interplay of cultural norms, religious beliefs, and artistic representations. Ancient civilizations implemented precautions to prevent its occurrence, but modern society continues to grapple with its portrayal in mythology, literature, and art. Reflecting this is a dynamic concept and controversy surrounding this taboo topic. What do they mean by this? If, like, the ancient civilizations put practices in place to prevent necrophilia from happening, what do they mean that modern society continues to grapple with its portrayal? There's nothing to grapple with, it's just bad. What did they mean by this? Disturbing crime at the Karimganj Civil Hospital. A horrific incident took place recently at the Karimganj Civil Hospital in Assam, India. Manju Rabi Das was a man who worked as a sweeper at the hospital. Jenny! Clean it up! He took that too seriously. He was like, oh, a corpse. It's time for me to clean that up with my dick. He sexually assaulted the minor girl's corpse, and further, he was taken under custody and was arrested. Absolutely despicable. What a disgusting individual. It was under unnatural circumstances when a young girl from the Bazari Chera area in Karimganj district passed away, and then this incident came into the picture. This further led to a post-mortem examination scheduled at the Karimganj Civil Hospital mortuary, where the body of the girl was brought. It was during the examination of the girl's body in the post-mortem that the doctors found injuries on the girl's body that were earlier not even mentioned in the initial report by the magistrate who was keeping a close check on this case. This led to investigation by authorities, and a discrepancy and even doubts were raised on the credibility of the report. After the discovery of the injuries, police had to question the staff on duty at the mortuary, including Manju Rabi Das. He then allegedly confessed during the questioning to the police that he was the one who had committed such necrophilia or sexual acts with the deceased girl's body. Das's confession allowed the police to file a case against him. The girl's body was transported to Silchar Medical College and Hospital for a more thorough forensic examination to acquire additional evidence. The team's investigations finished with the statement that the inquiry into this distressing incident is still ongoing. This means that officials are likely looking for further evidence to arrive at a conclusion in this case and examine whether any security gaps at the hospital allowed this tragic tragedy to occur. Is this AI? This act sparked controversy and raised serious concerns about the safety and security of the Karimganj Civil Hospital. The current inquiry aims to bring justice to the victim and prevent such a tragic act from happening again. India has seen several distressing cases of necrophilia. The Nithari case from 2006 was the most known and discussed one in India. Surinder Kohli was a domestic worker in Nithari, Noida, and he was found to be responsible for numerous disappearance reports of women and children. Helped by Moninder Singh Pandher, lured victims with promises of work but ultimately killed them. Once murdering them, he then had sexual intercourse with the bodies of the victims and then even cut them into bits for meat and disposed of the rest in plastic bags in the sewer outside of his house. 9 female children, 2 male youngsters, and 5 adults were victims of this egregious violence. Kohli murdered and assaulted women despite being aware of this horrible murder. 4 individuals, including a domestic servant, a gardener, and 2 drivers who resided in the same house as Surinder and Moninder, were not arrested. They were tried as witnesses to the crime. Surinder and Moninder were arrested for the crime, with the latter functioning as an accomplice. And Kohli received a death sentence, while Morinder received 7 years in prison and a fine. Another occurrence of necrophilia occurred in Palghar, Maharashtra. Shiva Kadhari, who was a shopkeeper who had murdered a woman during an incident over household goods. He confessed to killing her and having sexual intercourse. After being separated from his wife for almost a year, then he felt compelled to kill her. He was accused of both rape and murder, and he was arrested and investigated for potential mental health issues. You don't say. You don't say there might be potential mental health issues. A death sentence. Someone's gonna fuck him too. I know. Jesus Christ, it's fucking sick, dude. Sick isn't bad sick, not sick isn't good sick for you weird little freaks out there. In addition to these incidents, there have been numerous additional occurrences of necrophilia in India. For example, Akan Saikia was detained after he was seen molesting the body of a 14-year-old girl who had been buried. Imagine exhuming a corpse for this. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, how do you become so, like, sick in the head that you're like, you know, masturbating with some tissues is not good enough for me. I gotta go get, like, a shovel, and I gotta go exhume a grave and dig up a corpse. That's the only way I can get off now. Like, what the fuck happened to you? What happened that this is something you have to be doing? I'm thinking back to that fucking anal violence article where they're just like, we need to talk about vor and how to deal with it. And here's this example of a 12-year-old enjoying vor and how you can talk to them as a parent. I hate existence. Since few rules govern and punish necrophilia due to these reasons, offenses go unpunished. In India's legal landscape, the concept of criminal culpability is effective when combined with the protection of human rights. This includes the treatment of the deceased. While Indian law is still ambiguous on specific offenses such as necrophilia, it preserves the essential concepts of decency and respect for both the living and the deceased. Article 21 of the Indian Constitution lays down the foundation for the right to life with dignity and respect, which includes the right to die with dignity. This constitutional provision has been upheld by numerous landmark judgments, such as the Parmanand Katara versus Union of India, where the Supreme Court held that Article 21 safeguards the rights of both the living and the deceased. In Ashray Adhikar Ahian versus Union of India, an Indian High Court stressed the importance of upholding the dignity of the dead, particularly in ensuring that the religious beliefs of homeless individuals are respected during their cremation rites. Furthermore, in the case of Ramji Singh and Mujib Bai versus the state of UP and ORS, the The Allahabad High Court emphasized that Article 21 comprises the right to treat deceased individuals with the same respect and dignity they were entitled to during their lifetime. The court also discouraged unnecessary post-mortems unless deemed essential. While the legal framework in India may not explicitly address certain offenses like necrophilia, the overarching principles of human dignity and respect for the deceased guide judicial interpretations and decisions. The emphasis more on the holistic approach of Indian courts towards criminal liability by ensuring that legal principles align with fundamental human rights even in cases involving the deceased. In various settings beyond the cemetery, such as the mortuary and crime scenes, corpses and cadavers can be encountered. When an individual trespasses into a burial ground and desecrates a corpse, then they may face legal consequences, including imprisonment, fines, or both, provided the prosecution can establish their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. However, the Indian Penal Code, under Section 377, defines necrophilia as the voluntary act of engaging in sexual intercourse with a deceased person that is deemed against the order of nature, and in the case of Childline India Foundation versus Alan John Waters, the Supreme Court clarified that for an act to constitute necrophilia under Section 377, it must involve carnal intercourse contrary to nature, with the additional criterion that such acts are rare and cannot result in procreation. Despite the apparent contradiction of necrophilia with the natural order, the term voluntary complicates its classification within this category. That's a really weird loophole. That's a really strange loophole to have. And it kind of makes me think back to the cannibalism case in Germany, where a guy wanted to be eaten, and I can't remember if he had the guy kill him first or if he killed himself, because it's been a while since we talked about this cannibalism case. But the guy that he was with taped the, I consent to being cannibalized, confession on tape. And so he had that, and I'm pretty sure the German court still convicted him, because it's I guess you can't consent to being cannibalized? ? You believe that he was killed by the guy who put out the ad to find someone to kill and eat? Yeah, they were just yeah, this is fucking nonsense, dude. You're going to prison. Enjoy prison, the stalker cannibal. It isn't a recent issue that such necrophilia cases are being reported, one today, or a passing trend. That's a fucked up way to say it. Fucking, your AI isn't that great. Instead, such cases were happening even in the past, and due to stigmas attached to this topic, no such cases were even being filed. It's a serious issue that demands appropriate protocols and responses. While it may be impractical to hold animals or birds liable for necrophilic behavior, my homosexual necrophiliac duck sex! It all comes full circle, chat! The gay necrophiliac duck tab will live in infamy forever! The same cannot be true for humans, who must handle such cases with extreme caution and attention. While medical science advances in understanding and treating necrophilia, it is critical to have clear and enforceable rules in place to effectively manage and control such situations. We made the loop complete! Time is a flat circle, it is. Thank God you had headphones on. It's very dangerous to listen to me without headphones. How do all these squares make a circle? I love a circle! Congratulations! Queer duck lurks in every corner. He does, truly. Truly he does. Is that proof that the government owns your body and not you? See, when people bring up the government owning your body and not you, I want to encourage people to remove being an organ donor from their government paperwork. Because that story of, that lady who should have been, cremated or whatever, and... not cremated, but she was supposed to have her organs taken and then be cremated or something, but then her body was used as an explosive target in some sort of military drill. I was I don't trust the government, man. I'm not too fond of the government, you might say. She donated her body to science, but the military got the body first. Imagine wanting to help people scientifically and then the military just blows you up instead. Numerous research has looked at the origins and underlying causes of necrophilia, but it is difficult for society to take a more vigilant and proactive approach in resolving and preventing such incidents. I'm gonna disagree. In fact, I think it's very easy, actually, to prevent more cases of necrophilia in the future. I feel like it's actually very easy to apply very harsh sentences to people who fuck corpses. What do you mean by this? Am I taking crazy pills here? And then I had another paper here. that says, necrophilia in a forensic morgue staff in Bangladesh, forensic psychiatric challenges and implications. The first reported case of necrophilia has been identified in November 2020 in a 20-year-old unmarried man working in a forensic morgue as an assistant. A 20-year-old man was working as a helping hand of a mortuary assistant for the last 4 years. While providing the post-mortem report, the same DNA profile was detected from the high vaginal swabs of 5 female dead bodies. These guys do not just want bobs and vagine. They want it cold, served on ice. You know, they're like, oh god, what's that fucking shit called? What's that shit called when your body goes all stiff because you're dead? There's a word for that, and my brain can't remember it, chat. Rigor mortis. They're like, I want that rigor mortis grippy. we need the rigor mortis pussy, actually. However, the dead bodies were sent from different localities to the morgue from March 2019 to August 2020. The police collected samples from the suspected case for the purpose of DNA profiling from a discarded cigarette butt. Then, he was charged with rape on dead bodies and was arrested by police, and proceeded to court for trial under criminal procedure. The case indicates some fundamental challenges in forensic psychiatry of Bangladesh, such as diagnostic challenges and legal challenges. We aimed to discuss the challenges of diagnosis and forensic psychiatry implication in the Bangladesh context for necrophilia. This just talks about how bizarre necrophilia is, because obviously it is. Bangladesh is a sexually conservative country where paraphilia has yet to be the attention of researchers. The first identified case of paraphilia was reported in 2020, and the reports covered the urophilia in a person with obsessive compulsive disorder. I wonder where we've heard before comorbidities of OCD with a paraphilia, and now people are trying to completely blame that paraphilia on said OCD. I wonder where we may have seen this before, chat. Oh, I just can't remember. However, paraphilic events have been reported to the mass media, such as pedophilia and frotteurism. The first reported case of necrophilia was identified in a 20-year-old unmarried male working in a forensic lab in November 2020. The case of necrophilia highlights some fundamental challenges in forensic psychiatry of Bangladesh. Here, we aim to discuss the challenges of diagnosis and forensic psychiatry, blah blah blah. Case description. Mr. X a 20-year-old man was working as a helping hand of a mortuary assistant, known as a dome. Yeah, he do be a dome head. For the last 4 years in the Surawadi Medical College morgue, he used to collect dead bodies, helped in autopsy procedures, reconstruction of dead bodies, and finally, handed over the dead bodies to their respective families. He was charged with rape on dead bodies and was arrested by Criminal Investigation Department, a detective branch of Bangladesh police, and produced to court for trial under criminal procedure. Mr. X was taken as an assistant along with others by his uncle, who was the only mortuary assistant appointed by the government. He was unmarried, a smoker, and a cannabis abuser. He had no identified physical or psychiatric morbidity. Due to the working conditions, he was used to staying the night at a nearby room in the morgue by rotation. During his stay at the night in the morgue, he had intercourse with the female dead bodies for the last 2 years. That's crazy. That's crazy that you are so hard up for pussy. You're like, yeah, a corpse will do. A corpse is fine too, actually. Men will do anything but actually talk to a breathing female. The rigor mortis, dude, is fucking crazy, man. The dead bodies were received and kept for the autopsy on the next day. According to the direction of the High Court of Bangladesh in 2015, for each and every unnatural death of the women, the high vaginal swab must be collected and sent for DNA profiling. If you're someone working in a morgue and you know that every female corpse is going to get high vaginal swabbing, like, why even take the chance, dude? Like, why do this? I mean, I guess since it's not technically illegal, they're like, oh, if it's found out, I'll just get some sort of, like, desecrating a corpse fucking charge. But, like, that still seems fucked up, man. Like, why? Following the direction of the court during the autopsy, a high vaginal swab from the female dead bodies was collected and sent to the DNA profiling lab of CID. While checking the DNA profiling in the Combined DNA Index System, or CODIS, the same profile was detected from the 5 female dead bodies. However, the dead bodies were sent from different localities to the morgue from March 2019 to August 2020, following an unnatural death for post-mortem. During the autopsy, no signs of violence were seen in the dead bodies except the findings of suicide. The DNA profiling showed the clues to the CID that the same person was involved in abnormal preference of sexual intercourse, that's a way to put it, with the female dead bodies, otherwise known as necrophilia, and the incidence was happening by someone who might be staff at the morgue. The CID team collected samples from the suspected case for the purpose of DNA profiling from a discarded cigarette butt. The DNA profile obtained from the cigarette matched with the DNA profiles already done from the high vaginal swabs of the deceased female dead bodies. Later on, he was arrested and sent to jail with the charge of trial for criminal offenses. Before and after his arrest and before sending him to jail, no information was available regarding his mental state examination or psychiatric evaluation to identify the mental disorders. They go on to talk about a bit more about necrophilia here. The case raises several important aspects, such as the process of post-mortem mental health aspects of the person and overall need for the liaison of forensic medicine and psychiatry. Case indicates there is a lack of protective measures and scrutiny for dead bodies in the morgues of Bangladesh, especially in the Index Medical College. The event was happening for at least 2 years that remained untraceable. Perhaps lack of awareness regarding the disorders, as well as the absence of no previous reports, could be attributable. Also, the person was not a regular employee of the authority who had easy access to the dead bodies, which is certainly an undermining of the human rights of the dead bodies. The morgue staff should have strict monitoring, such as setting closed circuit cameras in the morgues with adequate awareness regarding the disorders. They could just Epstein the cameras, right? Like they could just, oh no, the camera feed just suddenly cut off when we received these female corpses. I can't explain that. The dead bodies waiting for the post-mortem should be preserved in a place where no unauthorized and unsupervised access is possible. Proper attention is warranted from the stakeholders of all sectors. Yeah, I don't understand how someone gets to this point. I'm gonna be real honest. As a rare event, there are challenges to conduct a trial, as the case has overlaps with mental health aspects, criminal aspects, and lack of precise law to deal with necrophilia. There is a need of delineated laws to deal with the paraphilic disorder in Bangladesh. That's a very weird sentence. Proper liaison between the forensic medicine, mental health professionals, and legal experts is a necessary step to deal with these issues. Although there are death reports of paraphilia, or dearth, there is a dearth of report. What is this English? Although there is a dearth of reports of paraphilia in Bangladesh, the events have been noticing in a higher frequency in the recent days. I feel like the English has broken down the farther we read into the article. The first reported case of necrophilia identifies several challenges in the forensic psychiatry services setting. Nonetheless, systemic investigation of necrophilia is scarce and challenging owing to its deep links to religious and cultural obligations. Immediate attention is warranted from the stakeholder to overcome the limitations, cope with future events, and to provide evidence-based services. I like how they bring up cultural obligations, because that reminds me, and let me see if I can find it really quick. The story contains images that some readers may find disturbing. I'm going to read that out loud. Both of my streams, or all of my streams actually, now that I'm on Kick too, they're rated 18+. This is news. There are going to be pictures of mummified corpses, so if a picture of a mummified corpse is something you don't want to see, leave the stream now. Trigger warning, baby. Do the dead still pay rent? I mean, I feel like they've paid their rent, you know? As a host, 90-year-old Alfreda Lantong is somewhat passive, lying resolutely on her back and gazing up through a pair of thick, dusty spectacles. She roundly ignores her son's murmured greetings as he enters the room, and she pays little heed to the gaggle of grandchildren clustered around her. But Alfreda can hardly be blamed for her unresponsiveness. After all, she has been dead for the last 7 years. And here is Alfreda. She looks kind of like that meme of that one anime guy with the glasses that talks about how much he likes like big asses or some shit. I can't remember what that guy's called, but you guys know who I'm talking about. You guys know what anime guy meme I know. And I feel like this is a little bit of a strange cultural tradition Because, like, you know, the Egyptians also mummified corpses, but they didn't typically, like, live with them still. Alfreda is of the Toraja people of southern Sulawesi in Indonesia, for whom the line between life and death is not black and white. Though her heart stopped beating in 2012, as far as her family is concerned, she is only tu macula, which translates loosely as sick. They still visit her regularly, talk to her, and bring her 3 meals a day, which they leave on the floor. After saying goodbye, Alfreda's son, Messick, covers her with a light veil and closes the lid of her coffin before exiting the room. He will visit her again at supper time. We would miss her if she still didn't live here, says the 47-year-old. She looked after us our whole lives, so now it is important that we look after her too. Beyond her silent companionship, one of the reasons Alfreda still lives with her family is that even after 7 years, preparations for her funeral are not yet complete. In Torajan culture, a person's funeral is the most important day of his or her life. Funerals can be so expensive that successive generations will be saddled with crippling debt. The events can last a week and involve the slaughter of hundreds of livestock. We need more time to save, says Masick, whose family belongs to what he calls the noble class in the stratified Torajan caste system. The community would not respect us if we did a small funeral. We must sacrifice many buffalo. Toraja County stretches for hundreds of miles across the mountainous interior of Sulawesi, a land of verdant hills and scattered villages connected by a network of dirt tracks that wind their way through the lush rice paddies and patches of thick forest. It is an enclave of Christianity in a predominantly Muslim country, although traditional beliefs remain prevalent, especially when it comes to death. Throughout most of the world, death is a topic that generally inspires dread. It marks the sudden and irreversible rupture of a person from their loved ones. Even if one believes in the afterlife, the immediate severing of the connection between the dead and the living is absolute. When anthropomorphized in popular culture, death is often depicted as a malevolent entity, the sinister black-cloaked figure clutching a scythe. Not so in Tanah Toraja, the land where the Torajans live. Here, death is not something to shy away from. It is an all-pervading presence in day-to-day life, inscribed into the landscape in eerie wooden Tao statues, commissioned by the bereaved to remember the dead, and into the social calendar, which revolves heavily around funerals. See, I think this is a nice tradition, right? Like having, like, you know, little statues carved of your loved ones. That seems like a very, very, like, nice and sweet kind of sentiment. I do not, and maybe this is because, again, like, this is a different, like, cultural perspective, and because, you know, I live in America, I am a Westerner, and we have a different view of death, it feels very strange to me to leave a corpse in your house for years upon years and live with them and bring them food as if nothing had ever happened. Death is even central to the economy. Families often save for years so they can afford the elaborate exchanges of gifts, money, and freshly slaughtered meat that take place during the events, which are seen as a key means of redistributing wealth in Torajan society. Death provides livelihoods for thousands of people here, both in the tourism sector and in the funeral-related businesses. That includes the farmhands who look after the exorbitantly expensive sacrificial buffalo. I love buffalo! Why do they sacrifice the buffalo?
Chat, what's the difference between a buffalo and a bison?
American and European bison. Cape and water buffalo.
Oh, they do look kind of different. But their penises are both very hairy. Why do they got hairy boopus?
The bison is native to North America and Europe. Distinctive large hump on back. Horns are small, sharp, and point upward. Thick, woolly fur adapted to handle cold climate. Weighs 700 to 2,200 pounds. Can live up to 19 years. Products you might buy: steak and ground.
I love bison meat. They're delicious.
And then the buffalo is native to Asia and Africa. They do not have a hump. Horns can span up to 6 feet. That is huge! Thin fur adapted for warmer climates. They weigh 1870 to 2650, but that's big.
Big buffalo.
Can live up to 30 years. Oh, so they can get very old. Products you might buy: water buffalo mozzarella.
Wait, how come you can make mozzarella out of water buffalo milk but not bison milk?
Can you make bison mozzarella? Is that a thing? I'm gonna look that up now. In the 17th century, French explorers in North America referred to the new species they encountered as les boeufs, meaning oxen or beeves. The English, arriving later, changed the pronunciation to la boeuf, Shia la boeuf. The name grew distorted as buffle, buffler, buffalo, and eventually buffalo, from the American buffalo in transition.
That's something I would do. I'd call them buffle. The buffalo sounds so cute.
And that's why I call them buffalobe now. How fast can they run? 40 miles per hour. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of nuts. Grass, how many bison could be grazed? What is the approximate birth weight? Gestation period? Gestation period for the American bison is 9.5 months. Oh, they're just like people. How many calves? Female bison breed when they're 2 years old and have their first calves when they're 3. Cows can live to be 20 to 25 years old and having a calf each year under the right conditions. Oh. Become an adult, average lifespan, ruminant, meaning do they chew cud as a cow would? Yes. Bison are not domestic animals and should be treated with caution and respect. Each animal has its own distinct personality. Just as lions and tigers can be tamed by professional animal trainers, bison can also be trained. However, bison are not domestic animal. Is bison fur soft? Bison have coarse guard hairs and a soft wool undercoat. Interesting. Ooh, here we go. Bison are not milked commercially for a couple of reasons. First, the teats on female bison are very small. Also, bison are undomesticated animals and the females do not adapt well to the type of handling necessary in a milking operation. Okay, so in theory, from what I'm learning here, if you own your own American buffalo, you'll be able to milk them and make your own cheese. But you cannot buy it commercially because female American buffaloes do not handle being in a milking operation very well. Interesting. Patan bison. Flat buffaloes. Write this down, Monster Girl artist. You cannot milk the buffalo monsters. What you're saying is there might be a local buffalo farmer that milk them himself that we can buy, just not in a store? Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes me curious. Like, if there's like a local farmer you can go to and get like American bison milky stuff. That's kind of really interesting, actually. I enjoy this. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, I know Ted Turner owns a metric fuck ton of buffalo. I don't know how many, like, non-Ted Turner buffalo branches there are. Why elusive buffalo milk cheeses are worth buffalo mozzarella, the great white whale of American cheeses. Oh, look at this. Look at this shit. This looks fucking... It's got some prosciuttos and... I don't know what the fuck this is. There's, like, dog shit on the plate. I'm making you hungry. Nothing tastes more like summer to me than Murray's buffalo mozzarella. Sweet and bright, it has a flavor like lemon cheesecake. If you're looking for a fun but comfortable departure from cow's milk mozzarella, this is for you. I love this sliced up in a fresh watermelon and mint salad next to a French 75 cocktail. Lemon cheesecake cheese? Yeah, I never would have expected like a cheese to just naturally taste like a lemon cheesecake. That's a pretty neat fucking flavor profile, man. That's pretty fucking cool. Exotic cheese ASMR. I fucking love cheese! Cheese! I am a woman. Fascinate me with it! Oh, Mikata Tarali Oh, they're Taralis! I've eaten these before! I imported some Tarali cheese crackers from Italy because they sounded really fucking delicious. And newsflash, they are? I don't know where to buy them besides like the import store, but I guess I could just buy them from here now. These ones are delicate and herbaceous, so they don't sound like cheese Tarali. You know, they're probably gonna taste different from the ones that I was eating. Blessed are the cheese makers. All right, there was this article about cheese. Why elusive buffalo milk cheeses are worth hunting down. Rich and savory, buffalo milk makes luscious yogurt, cheese, and butter. This one's on fire. Why is that cheese on fire? One Friday morning in May, many years back, I was working at Wasix Cheese Shop in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Massachusetts mentioned! when one of the proprietor's sons, Brian, came barreling behind the counter with a flat cardboard crate. He pulled back the lid to reveal 6 squat plastic tubs of Stracciatella de Bufala, and then grabbed a knife and sliced back the wrapping from one of them, giddy as a kid on Christmas morning. Brian reached into the nearby basket of baguettes, tore off a piece, and used it to scoop into the container of slippery white curds. He rifled through the tray of sample products behind the counter for a bottle of olive oil and a box of flaky salt. I'm a huge fan of the Himalayan pink salt. I think that shit's delicious. Garnished the stracciatella with both, and with all the kindness and generosity in the world, handed me the perfect first bite. I'm an avowed cheese fanatic! Oh, same, buddy. Who had been in and out of the business for years. I've worked as a cheesemonger, managed cheese menus at restaurants, designed an artisan cheese program at a boutique grocery store, visited domestic dairy farms and alpine aging caves, and now I dabble in writing about my favorite fromage. I like this guy. One of the houses I had been looking at that ended up selling because people are fucking insane. Down the street from that house was like a really fucking cool specialty cheese shop. I was like, what the fuck? I want to be able to walk from my house to a specialty cheese shop on the weekends? That sounds like so much fucking fun. Wallace from Wallace and Gromit. Oh my god, I have so many fond memories of like hanging out with my aunt as a child and watching Wallace and Gromit. I love how squishy all the sheep look in that show. Mongered cheese sounds like a potential issue of Kirsche just buying the damn cheese store. Be like, hello, I would like to buy equity in your cheese shop. Please let me support you. Wallace and Gromit Kino, it is omelette du fromage. Yeah, exactly. I do not want the pinasse du fromage, though. That shit kind of is disgusting. Wash your dick! Back to the real cheese! I've long understood that Wada buffalo milk cheese is something special. Even in the parts of the country where you can get just about anything, buffalo milk products are rarely available, often expensive, particularly perishable, and precious. They're the type of thing that made my cheese mentor's eyes shine and well up with enthusiasm. More the opportunity to eat the stuff than to sell it, really. But I never much thought to ask why it's such a rare treat. Most Americans who have heard of buffalo milk know it by way of Italian mozzarella di bufala. This especially soft moz is a worlds apart from rubbery, low-moisture grocery store shreds, and is moister, richer, and more tender even than the cow milk fresh mozzarella layered in the caprese salads of thousands of Italian restaurants around the world. Chat, what was I just saying earlier? What was my tangent on, like, the saucier the better? Yeah, baby, we want that moist cheese. You need cheese that feels like it's been hidden inside of a vagina for a month. You know, get that wet as fuck, boy. In his 2012 New York Times Magazine profile of the late Wada buffalo farmer Craig Ramini, Sam Anderson describes real mozzarella di bufala as the apotheosis of dairy, the golden mean between yogurt and custard and cottage cheese and heavy cream and ricotta. I actually don't really like ricotta that much. I haven't tried it in many years. But eating ricotta used to make me vomit. And it wasn't like a texture or a flavor thing. Like, I would eat it and then be fine. And then my stomach would just reject life and I would projectile vomit everywhere. I don't really know why that would happen with ricotta, but whenever I would make like a cannelloni or stuffed shells or lasagna, I would have to leave out ricotta and add mascarpone instead. Mascarpone was a good replacement for ricotta for my dishes. You love how the stream can go from doing very bad things to bodies to going down a buffalo. After the buffalo cheese, we have to go back to the necrophilia. I had one more tab, but we got distracted. I don't remember how we got from necrophilia to buffalo cheese, but you know, we got to go back at some point. Mozzarella always refers to the buffalo milk product, while the dense, chewy cow's milk version we often see in the US is known as fiore di latte. I didn't know that. I didn't know that when you talk about mozzarella in Italy, it's always buffalo. I'm learning things, chat. Most of this fresh cow's milk mozzarella, whether American or Italian, has a firmer texture that holds up well and stays sliceable and solid, even after a couple of weeks in the fridge. Ron Foster of Foster Sundry in Brooklyn explains that most fresh cow's milk mozzarella is made from pre-made card, and so it's already sort of lost the freshness. Buffalo milk cheeses, on the other hand, are highly perishable, even compared to other unaged cheeses. They lose their sweet, tart, yeasty freshness rapidly. Their textures begin to break down after about a week, and they quickly take on an unpleasant sourness. This is why most mozzarella in Italy is sold and consumed just a day or two after it's made. I really miss, like, super fresh shit like this. Like, I would go to, like, butchers to get fresh meat, and I would go to, like, bakeries to get fresh breads and pastries all the time when I lived up in New England. Can't do that shit down here, baby. We're kind of fucked. Imported mozzarella di bufala has made inroads into American markets, and the US has begun to see more and more burrata made of buffalo milk as well. Thin stacks of mozzarella stretched around a soupy filling of those same creamy shreds of tough-to-find stracciatella, a mixture of shaggy shreds of mozzarella and thick cream that Brian Wasik fed me years ago. Can Brian Wasik feed me? Yet, even in Americans' food epicenters, these fresh products can be tough to find. And, while I've encountered some excellent producers of fresh cow milk mozzarella in the US, I'd never come across a domestic mozzarella di bufala before researching this article. Anderson refers to mozzarella di bufala as the great white whale of American cheesemaking, a dream so exotic and powerful that it drives otherwise sensible people into ruinous monomaniacal quests. He just like me, for real, for real. I've recently come to realize the truth in that assessment. In the early 2000s, a small farm in Vermont, Woodstock Water Buffalo Company, began naturally distributing a fantastic buffalo milk yogurt. It was mildly flavored and rich with a nearly sliceable texture. That sounds better than regular yogurt texture. Somewhere between cream cheese and mousse. Oh god, mousse has such a nice texture, man. The flavored versions were lightly sweet and subtle, and the plain was a rich, tart, and yeasty, neutral dairy ingredient. Perfect for tzatziki, raita, and baking. I can't pronounce those things. I also think tzatziki sauce is gross. But maybe that's because I don't like yogurt very much. But usually the issue with yogurt is the texture and not the flavor, so I don't know. Tzatziki just has like a really bad flavor to it. I've had it a few times with gyros. Gyros could be pretty good, but the tzatziki sauce is just bleh. Bleh. How dare you! I love cottage cheese is disgusting. Cottage cheese is like what I imagine like dick or vaginal cheese texture would be like. Because that's what it looks like when you see it in videos. And so like whenever I see cottage cheese, all I can think of is just like genital cheese. And like if cottage cheese already wasn't tastefully disgusting, that would just make it worse. So, you know.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more! Where the fuck are your parents? Who are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop!
What about frozen yogurt? Why not just get ice cream? More like a yeast infection. Yeah, like you open a container of cottage cheese and you're just literally eating like genital cheese yeast infection. Congratulations, you freak. There's a crazy yogurt that's made of coconut. I don't like the flavor or the texture of coconut. Eating coconut would be cannibalism for me. And, you know, as much as the New York Times wants to talk about how now is the time for ethical cannibalism, I just don't believe them. When I tried to track down Woodstock's products again, I learned that the yogurt was no longer being produced, that the original owners had sold the farm, and that location had ceased operating as a buffalo dairy. Oh, that's sad. There are a handful of very small water buffalo farms operating domestically. After his abrupt passing in 2015, Craig Ramini's widow, Audrey Hitchcock, took over his beloved herd. Why doesn't she have his last name? But distribution of Ramini mozzarella remains limited to a handful of restaurants in the Bay Area. Riverine Ranch in New Jersey raises water buffalo for both meat and milk, and even produces some non-European items like paneer and labna. But these are available at only a handful of farmers markets in New York. Speaking of something that sounds like labna, I don't know what a labna is, but I fucking love babka. I don't know how to pronounce it, but damn, that Jewish bread is fucking delicious. Holy shit. Occasionally, my local grocery store will get, like, some specialty babka in, and I'm like, oh, buddy. It's so fucking good. Try challah. Oh, dude, challah slaps fucking hard as well. The Jews know what they're doing when it comes to food. Do we know casamarzu? I do. I do know the maggot cheese. I would never eat the maggot cheese. She likes Jewish bread. They lied to me. Widows don't keep their late husband's name since they're no longer married to them after they die. I feel like that's a disservice. If I became a widow because my husband died, I wouldn't go back to my maiden name, right? Because, like, I was his throughout his lifetime. It would only make sense to retain his last name unless I got remarried, you know? Jew pickles are goated. I fucking love the Jew pickles. They're the best. I refuse to buy any other kind of pickle besides Jew pickles. They are the best. Your wife told you that she would keep your last name if you passed away before her? That's a good woman. Never let her go. Ithaca Water Buffalo Farm produces a few varieties of plain and flavored yogurt, but its distribution too is limited to the Northeast. Northeast winning once again! Fuck you, rest of the country! We will sink California like it deserves! These small farms are all outliers, and no North American water buffalo dairies have achieved the broad distribution that Woodstock once had. Anderson's 2012 article gave a bleak prognosis for the industry, noting that over the last 15 years, the attempt to make authentic buffalo mozzarella to nail both its taste and texture has destroyed businesses from Vermont to Los Angeles. It seems truly doomed. But why are they having such trouble recreating the buffalo mozzarella? Like, right, if like the Europeans can do it, why are you having so much trouble? What's the issue here? Why is it such a challenge to raise these elusive animals here? That's what I was asking! Part of the answer relates to climate. Despite American lore, buffalo are not native to the US, where the animals that we colloquially call buffalo are in fact bison. Water buffalo most likely originated in Asia and were spread through India, North Africa, and Italy as meat and dairy animals. They are the primary source of dairy in parts of Africa and in India, where buffalo milk is consumed fresh and used to make paneer, yogurt, and ghee. Buffalo are also strong draft animals, prized for clearing overgrown jungle and forest for farming. I've seen many pictures of the buffalo with the farming equipment. Herds of water buffalo were introduced to the Caribbean and eventually brought to South America in the mid-20th century to clear and till farmland for the palm oil industry. That's another really nice ball. I like that ball. Look at all the indents in that ball. I want to poke it. In fact, it is South America that we find some hope for New World buffalo farming. Alejandro Gomez Torres, co-founder of Boof Creamery in Colombia, grew up well acquainted with the water buffalo as work animals. This is your calling! Colombians! Stop fucking the donkeys! Start raising the buffalo for the beautiful milk and cheese! While managing a farm that raised male water buffalo for the local palm oil industry, Torres found himself with a unique problem that he describes as too many buffalo. At a dinner party, a few of his friends suggested the start of a cheese business using their rich milk, and, obviously, the jovial entrepreneur told me, after a couple of glasses of wine, anything is possible. Bro, I have so many South Americans in my audience. One of you better do this. One of you better start a buffalo farm so I can import fucking buffalo products from you. Okay, all right? This is your calling. This is your life. As it turns out, the consistently temperate, rainy climate of the Andes is a great deal like that of Campania, the birthplace of mozzarella di bufala, and Torres' animals grow healthy and strong on the grassy mountain pastures. They live outdoors their whole lives and, through each, produces only about 1.25 gallons of milk per day, much less than a cow's average of 7 to 8 gallons. That is a crazy disparity, holy shit! Holy fuck! I didn't realize that cows made that much, and I didn't realize that buffaloes made that little. No wonder their products are so fucking expensive. Hot damn! Buffaloes are millions of dollars, you think? Like millions of US dollars, or like millions of one of the South American currency dollars? Because like if that's the case, I could always kickstart a buffalo farm, right? If it was like millions of a South American currency, that's gonna be like $5 in American currency. I'd be like, here's a buffalo, do my bidding. We need to learn where Foxu fits in that scale. Millions of Zimbabwean dollars, dude. Cows are mega milkers, oh my god. The Buffalo brand Buffalo Cheese Company incoming at the BBBC! Torres explained that they are still very efficient for the area because cows do not do well in these areas. Oh, that's interesting. They die where buffalo can thrive. Why do the cows die in Colombia where the buffaloes live? Thanks to the latter's affinity for high rainfall zones similar to those of their ancestral home. Oh, it's just like watching a movie with your girlfriend. If I just shut up and read the next sentence, my questions would be answered. $2,500 to $5,000 per buffalo, according to El Goog. Well, you know, it's kind of like if I bought someone a buffalo, I would require, like, you know, give me free buffalo product for a while for my investment, right?
Yeah, this is what I wanted!
Different types of buffalo milk product, aged cheeses. Nutritionally, Wada buffalo milk is higher in fat, calcium, iron, and phosphorus than cow's milk, and it contains approximately 11% more protein. BGM Doko, you're correct. I turned it off to look at videos. However, while buffalo milk has slightly nuttier, more acidic tones, the two are not wildly different in flavor. Most noticeable distinguishing feature of buffalo milk is textural. Aging and ripening often used to add value to funkier flavored milk, as aging processes tend to distort its texture, thus sacrificing its unique tenderness and the creaminess. Yeah, the texture on this cheese looks kind of weird. The primary benefit of aging is that it extends the cheese lifespan, a relatively weak selling point for cheesemakers struggling to justify the added cost of something that could easily be mistaken for a cow's milk product. As Foster explains, buffalo milk cheeses, especially aged ones, do tend to be milder. They're fattier, and the flavor of buffalo milk itself is fairly mild compared to goat and sheep's milk. This makes sense. Buffalo are much closer to cows than to sheep or goats. Without that distinctive goatiness or sheepiness to set them apart from aged cow milk cheeses, aged buffalo cheeses aren't readily marketable in the US. In addition, there is less of a culture here in the US of consuming buffalo milk dairy products, so consumers aren't necessarily as willing to pay the premium. It's less that it's unknown and more that people don't really understand the value proposition. Well, if it tastes the same when it's aged, then it doesn't have a value proposition, right? Isn't that what the entire, like, prior paragraph was saying? That since the flavor and texture profile is almost indistinguishable from cow's milk cheese when it's aged, then it loses value. What is this guy? What does he mean by this? Camel cheese. You want to try goat cheese? I actually don't like goat cheese. It has like too nutty of a flavor profile for me. For his part, Torres has experimented with Cavallo, brie, and provolone recipes using buff creamery milk, and while he was happy with the results, the added time and cost involved was simply too high. He chose to stick with mozzarella, burrata, and yogurt because he says, "We believe in adding value to the milk where it can really show and express its beauty." Cool. Ooh, one Italian producer, Quattro Partoni, makes and exports a range of buffalo milk products that are occasionally only available at Murray's Cheese and Eatery. Really? Ooh, what a buffalo cheese makers. That's a really cool looking building. Blue de Buffalo. That looks crazy. These guys got a Minecraft block of blue buffalo cheese. Oh, look at this guy's hands. Oh, he's got some nice hands. Chat, maybe I shouldn't be looking for a himbo, but I should be looking for a cheesemaker instead. Maybe I need a cheesemonger husbando if this is what the hands that craft cheese look like. Oh man, those are nice, dude. She's stimming on cheesemakers. Kirsche, focus! I am focused! Oh, this looks like cookies and cream cheese. I know that's probably like mold or some shit, but it looks like cookies and cream. That's pretty cool. You don't know why, but the word cheesemonger sounds so funny to you. It does. It's a funny word. It sounds like a class in an RPG. Fresh products. That looks like a bar of soap. It's talking about brands. Ooh, see, I want this one. This cheese looks like a cute little marshmallow, and it's been branded with fire. I want this cheese. It doesn't say what cheese this is. It just gives credit. It doesn't tell me what cheese, and that makes me sad. Ooh. Look at that fucking mozzarella ball. Look at how nice that looks. It's like a clove of fucking garlic, man. That's like a butthole that's been excised from a human body.
What? What the fuck?
It looks like a dumpling. Oh god, class cheesemonger skill. Yeah, fucking make that cheese, man.
The buffalo!
We've had a very interesting trajectory. All right, back to what happened. Wait, this is the article we were reading. This is the article. This is how we got to buffaloes from necrophilia. It was this tribe. It was this Indonesian tribe. Okay, we're gonna finish this article. That includes the farmhands who look after the exorbitantly expensive sacrificial buffaloes that restaurants and hotels springing up in the town of Rantapau, and the artisans who craft the wooden Tao statues adorn graves.
Because you've been a bad girl.
That was an hour-long tangent. Welcome, new friends. That's what we do here. We are multi-track tangent drifting streams. These statues, which range in appearance from highly stylized to disconcertingly lifelike, are a prominent feature of the caves, outcrops, and escarpments that dot the countryside. For Jeffrey Maguling, a young Tao carver whose family has been in the business for 4 generations, the statues are an art form, as well as a source of income. I have a question for any Indonesians in the chat. Can you only have Tao carved of dead people, or can you make a Tao of an alive person? And are there consequences if you make a Tao of an alive person? Probably like a voodoo curse if you make one of a living person. I don't just copy photos of the dead person, says Maguling, who works from a small wooden shack by the roadside of Rantapau. I try to capture the person's character. It takes me about 10 days to make. Brother, you're telling me that this guy can carve an entire wooden Tao in 10 days, and I have digital artists not able to deliver a digital file to me in over 2 years? Are you fucking— maybe I should just hire Indonesian carvers at this point. And he can sell a statue for about 15 million rupiah, or $1,100. Damn! Maybe I should hire this guy. That's even cheaper than my model art. There's more demand than in my father's time, he adds. The population has grown, so there are more people dying. Makes me happy when my clients like the Tao, but I will always share their sadness. It's not that the Torajans don't mourn their loved ones, but the process is softened by the gradual, and never-ending, nature of the transition from one world to another in Torajan cosmology. Even after people are buried, they're not really gone. Their Tao statues continue to stand tall on their cliff-top perches, eternally surveying the bustling land of the living below. That sounds scary, and this picture is creepy. In some communities, to show respect, the dead are exhumed every few years, this is the article we read before on this, and dressed in fresh clothes, often with a new pair of sunglasses, as if their pride over their appearance had not expired with their bodies. The article we read previously when talking about this didn't mention like the Taos and stuff. They mentioned how the bodies would be exhumed from graves and then brought back into like celebratory dances and brought to like the fireside and involved in like the big like cultural feasts and whatnot. So that was the article we read before on this. When a baby dies, the body is sometimes buried in a hole carved out of the trunk of a tree so that the two may live on and grow together. That is a very sweet sentiment, but can you imagine, like, right, like this picture just makes me think of horror movies where like you enter some uncontacted tribe territory and you see all of these like weird death doors carved into trees, and then you open them and then there's just a bunch of like corpses inside, and then you're like, well, I shouldn't have looked in there, and then you close the door and you turn around and there's some like demonic entity behind you that like screeches in your face and then pushes you through the door into like the corpse tunnel of the tree. You know, like that's just what my brain goes to. In a village near Alfreda Lantong's home, set on a steep hillside above a sea of brilliant apple green patties, another Torajan family is making last-minute preparations for its big day. The sick man, Lucas Ruruk, was a farmer from one of the middle social classes. His funeral will be of average size by Torajan standards, yet the family is still expecting 5,000 guests and estimates that the event, which will last several days, will cost roughly 250 million rupiah, which is around $18,000. That's roughly 5 times the average yearly income in Indonesia. Brother, I know earlier in the article they said that death was expensive, but holy fuck. That is like actual insanity. Jesus Christ. Good fucking God, man. 18K is actually not very expensive for a funeral. I've never had to pay for a funeral before, so I have no idea. Like, I know caskets are really expensive, right? But like, when they put that into perspective and they say that it's 5 times the average yearly income in Indonesia, that is insane. That is insane. What do they do for unexpected passing? Earlier in the article, before we got distracted by buffalo and what the difference between buffalo and bison is, and then what you can make out of buffalo milk, and if bisons can be milked, newsflash, apparently they can't. Well, they can, but like they have small teats and they don't do well in milking situations. But when we read the beginning part of this article, when somebody dies, they keep them in their house. Let me just scroll up for a second. When somebody dies, they keep them in their house for years until they can afford to have the funeral. So you just kind of hang out with the corpse for like, you know, 7 years or so. And you still bring them food and you still interact with them and you still talk to them. But obviously they can't talk back because they're dead. So you just, you know, that's just what happens. We're sad about the funeral, says Ruruk's 28-year-old son, Isaac Sapan, but it is the most important day in my father's life. It is when his soul will make the journey to heaven. Oh, that's actually really sad. If they have like in their culture that they believe the soul can't go to heaven until the funeral happens, that means like when the corpse is living in the house, like the soul is trapped there until you can afford the funeral. His father lies upstairs in his bedroom dressed immaculately in a dark suit and tie with a white shirt with floral designs on the collar. He died the previous month and has been lying here receiving visitors ever since. Shortly after death, his body was injected with a formaldehyde solution to prevent it from decomposing, as is the local custom. And there he is. There he is in all of his glory in the house with children playing outside. Kind of weird, the article to Size Queen, the buffalo nipples. Jesus Christ. This is a hell of a setup for a horror movie. I would watch the fuck out of a horror movie set in like this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like this kind of environment. Like that would be fucking phenomenal if done by the right director. Setting? Yeah, setting's another good word. I love watching foreign horror movies because you get to learn so much about like different cultures and their folklores that they have and things that like they're superstitious about versus what we have superstitions about in the US or the West in general. I fucking love foreign horror movies, dude. The next morning, Ruruk's home is a scene of pandemonium. Trussed-up pigs are carried out squealing on bamboo stretchers, while vendors set up stalls by the entrance selling soft drinks, snacks, and cigarettes to the arriving guests. Man, this is like a fucking Coliseum match, dude. They're having like their own Ren Fair. As the event gets underway, buffalobes are led out to have their throats slit in front of a transfixed crowd. A DJ plays local ballads, and a group of women perform traditional dances as the ground slowly turns scarlet with blood. Yuna, you have to keep dancing. A video crew hired by the family records the scene.
This video contains graphic scenes of cultural events.
We visited a land where the living celebrate death.
Bro. All right, so living in the house with the corpse, kinda crazy. This fucking festival though, this looks cool as fuck. Like this is why I wanted to look up a video. I like this looks really fucking cool.
Where the dead return
Look at how
each
happy
year
they are.
to bless their loved ones. And where the living and the dead exist together in an eternal union.
That's crazy. Oh, the houses look really cool too. Are these like, hold on. I don't know if these are like the houses that people live in or if these are like the special houses where like the bodies get to live before they have their funeral parties, right? All right, please tell me we're farming a Vice docky. No, this isn't Vice. Vice would never. That's nuts. It's metal as hell. That's really fucking cool.
Our
Indonesia.
journey begins in Sulawesi, Indonesia. In the region of Toraja.
Yo, I was pronouncing it correctly! I'm fucking nuts.
At the very heart of this remarkable culture is its magnificent-looking homes, the Tongkonan.
Yeah, I was about to say, look at how fucking cool these look. Look at all the buffalo antlers! This is the kind of shit that, like, really makes me want to travel more, chat. Like, I would have so much fun going around to, like, different cultural places like this and just seeing things up front and in person. I fucking love that shit, man. I love that shit, man. Is it a lively party or a dead party? I'm kidding. It's a lively death party!
With roofs shaped like boats and adorned with horns from buffaloes, they are the Torajan symbol of status and wealth.
That looks so cool!
It is here that family clans establish their seat of power, and it's also here that the living and the dead commune daily.
Spooky buffalo.
While wandering around Rantipao City, we meet a family who live in a Tongkonan.
Superman!
They invite us to join them for a lunch of fried salted fish and eggplant. They explain that in their culture, almost everything is shared. Food, clothes, and possessions.
You know, in theory, if you have a small enough village, socialism should technically work. It's just human greed ends up superseding any of the good messaging, and it always ends up getting fucked up because someone's like, I can take advantage of this, and no one will call me out. You know? I was like, I guess it's good for them. They've managed to keep it going as long as they have. Kind of impressive, unironically. Bro's a munchkin, what do you mean? It never scales. Yeah, it never fucking scales. It never fucking scales, and communism just becomes an insidious ideology where, like, it's built off of the back of capitalism, and then they're like, okay, time to equalize everything and make everyone feel terrible. We did this, like, in Terra, when all of us left en masse Terra and went to Gameforge Terra, because en masse were a bunch of fucking retarded cunts. And so we were like, okay, since we're starting out, we're gonna pool all of our resources, and, like, everything we farm, we're gonna put into, like, a shared resource guild bank, and, like, you know, to everyone who needs stuff, we're gonna do that. And even then, we had several people who were just like, oh, well, I know I'll be taken care of by all the people doing the work, so I don't need to do anything. And then that builds resentment, and you're like, well, I fucking hate you, because you're a lazy piece of shit. You get nothing. You get nothing. Get out.
This is your song, thank you.
Do-do-do-do.
Thank you.
Do-do-do-do.
Thank you.
Do-do-do-do.
This is your song.
Thank you, Mad Rook! Thank you, Mad Rook! Thank you for the 100 pounds, my guy. Thank you.
Hey, Kirsche, don't need any help getting distracted, but the cheese with the brand is from the company Casa Madiao. Madiao? They have a website if you want to look. Ooh, Binary Mind, can you put that dono in my DMs so I can remember to check that website later? Thank you. Thank you for showing me where to buy the delicious little pudding cup cheese with the fire branding. I appreciate you. And yeah, I agree. I agree. Communism do be dumb and gay. But it's always interesting, right? When you do find these, like, small enclave areas, like, very incredibly tiny, like, tribe areas where they're just like, yeah, we do this, and it has worked. It's like, huh. I guess when you have, like, very small, very high trust society, it works until someone fucks it up. Wonder shows, and it's so sad when Terra was shut down. I agree. All glory. Communal is not communism. I guess you also have a good point there. Like, when you're living by a community, it's not technically communism. You have a point. You have a point. Why pause there? Why not, brother? Tell me you don't want his fish and rice? With a small enough community, the offenders are found more easily and dealt with. Yeah, true also. It works when everyone can be held accountable.
There is little privacy, and everyone knows almost everything about everybody.
That's what it takes. I was like, you know, does Binary Mind get a raise with his promotion? Communism works on a small scale, not on a massive scale. I would say when you're talking about small scale, I'm thinking about, like, less than, like, 30 people, right? Like, once you start getting larger than that, like, the chance of someone being like, I know exactly how to take advantage of the system, and I know how to usurp the people who want to do good by the community so that I can just be a selfish cunt, grows exponentially, you know?
The individual may be important, but the community, the family, and the clan are paramount.
true.
After the meal, the boys excitedly
So
ask
this would even be like this is like a very solid communal form of like nationalism in a way. They're just like all of us are here for each other. At that small of a scale, it's not communism. It's just a family or a tribe. Yeah, true. That's why I said the other guy had a good point when he was like, it's just communal, not communism.
us to follow them. They take us into their home and into a small room.
Oh, look at how nicely carved those are. Oh, there's little hearts. Why do you gotta have the emotional spooky
But instead of showing us
music?
a cool game or a new toy, they proudly present the body of their grandmother, who has been dead for several years. The family has placed her body in their home this entire time to save up for her funeral, an event which will be more lavish than anything she'd experienced while she was alive. The boys aren't fearful, but speak to their grandmother in hushed tones, comforting her and asking her how she is.
Aww. Is that a
To her
Louis
family,
Vuitton
she's
purse?
not
What the
yet
fuck?
dead, just sick.
That was like the last thing I expected to see here. My confusion.
13 sampai 10 tahun.
In another family home we visited,
Kalimantan.
their father's corpse lay in a bedroom.
Nah, balik Pak. Ini ada nih orang bule, orang asing.
Oh,
Mau ke
to understand the
toh,
traditions in
pengen tahu,
Toraja.
adat di Toraja. Ini saya ku jawab toh. Karena
What a cool
bapak ini
picture
masih
frame
ada di
on
rumah.
the picture of the father.
Sedangkan masih merasakan sakit, masih
He's
merasakan
sick and wants to be together with his
pengen
family.
masih kumpul sama keluarga.
The music
The
is over
bond
the top.
between
Yeah, I
the
don't
living
like
and
the
the dead
music.
is poignant. There is no fear or disgust from sleeping in the same house as a corpse,
That's crazy to me.
only the tender affection you'd expect from a loved one.
Kalau selama masih di rumah, itu masih merasa sakit, ada yang tunggu anaknya.
The Torajans believe death comes only after a funeral is held. And sometimes to save up for this lavish affair, the corpses of loved ones can be kept in
You're right,
homes
my
for as
BGM
long
is
as
on.
15
Sorry.
years.
Sorry.
Mak, saya bawa mi sarapan nih. Selawai.
I really like the
In the
funeral
meantime,
veils that
families
they
will
keep
serve
over
them
the
their
coffins
meals
as well. They're
and
like
even
really
their favorite
ornate.
snacks.
When someone
15
who died
years.
and directly put the no alcohol to preserve the organs, so not the organs not quickly smell,
Oh.
and also they put some spices or coffee powder over the bodies. So
Does that
not
work?
Smell.
Death consumes
Does that actually work though? Like I've never been in close proximity to like, how do I word this? Like I've been in close proximity to like a recently deceased person from like them getting like shot and killed. But I've never been in the vicinity of like a long aerated exposed corpse. So like I don't know how the smell works. Would that actually work to like counter the smell of a corpse? Can't believe it. You mean they use coffee to hide drugs and throw off drug sniffing dogs? I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know how powerful the smell of a corpse is, so I don't know if that would actually work. It works to an extent. I mean, I'm assuming, right, if this is a cultural thing, much like people who own dogs go nose blind to just how bad their dog smells, but someone without a dog can smell it on them from like a mile away, you probably just go nose blind to the smell of corpse. Like, you probably just get used to it, but like, if I went to this village, I would probably be able to smell something being a bit off, because it's just not something I'm used to.
almost all facets of Torajan culture. We meet some villagers on our journey, and one of the first things they ask us is if we want to see the graves of their ancestors.
Abso-fucking-lutely! If their parties for funerals are
trek
that
up a hill with
lavish, of
them.
course I want to see the graves.
With the
When we
fucking
reach the
music
top-
again, stop it!
We see a chilling display,
Okay, that
rows and rows of skulls,
is not what I was expecting for the grave.
some peeking out from coffins. One makes a small tobacco offering to the dead.
How have we literally gotten multiple horror games on Kowloon, and I haven't found a single horror game based on this Indonesian cultural, like, ritual. Like, I would play the fuck out of a game or watch a movie about this stuff. Like, holy shit, someone needs to take advantage of this. This is crazy. I would love to experience more of this, dude. That'd be so much fun. They do enjoy their Marlboros. Yeah, fucking tobacco offerings are very common as an offering to the deceased.
A village elder joins in and starts giving the group a lesson in the history of their ancestors, which soon evolves into a somewhat macabre anatomy class.
That's also pretty cool, that they can just pick up a bone and know exactly where it comes from. I couldn't do that. I'd be like, yep, that's a bone. Where'd it come from? I don't fucking know.
The elder explains that the bones date back 300 to 400 years, and
That's
their ancestors
crazy
were
that they're
kept in
that old.
coffins suspended from cliffs, or placed in holes carved into...
They're like... Chat, chinchillas are native to South America.
Kirsche jam, eat a spicy cat.
I can't remember specifically which countries, but chinchillas live on cliffs. And so chinchillas make their homes like in the sides of cliffs and in the holes in cliffs. And for some reason, when they were talking about the suspended coffins, that's the only thing I could think of. Can you imagine being like from a foreign country and like coming to experience the Torajan culture? Like you just see a cliffside filled with suspended coffins and ominous holes. This would be fascinating and like unsettling all at the same time.
the rock face. The higher up they're buried, the easier it is for them to reach heaven.
So does that mean that, like, the more prominent you are in the caste system, the higher up the cliffside you should be buried? Is that kind of like how that works?
Nenek moyang. Nenek moyang apa ni?
Babies who died were also entombed, but in this special tree. Holes were...
So that picture we saw of the holes, this makes a lot of sense that they're this small because they're for babies who have died. But the picture that we saw in the article, it made the door look fucking massive. Seeing a tree with like a whole bunch of these all up its trunk and like branches, that would be even... Like, I'd be scared, man. It's the baby tree, chat.
Carved into its trunk, and their tiny infant bodies placed inside. It's believed they would be absorbed into the tree and continue to grow with it.
And I think that's a really cool cultural thing, right? Like, if somebody unfortunately experiences, like, a miscarriage or, like, the baby doesn't survive after birth, putting it inside of a tree, kind of like, you know, instead of in the ground, right? Like, it's the same concept, right? But, like, putting it in the tree to sort of entwine it with Mother Nature and ensuring that the tree and the baby both live on, like, you know, in a symbiotic relationship with each other. I think that's a really neat cultural thing. I think that's really fucking neat. That's morbidly sweet. Yeah, it's morbid, but it's sweet.
The villagers show no disgust or fear coming into close contact with their ancestors' remains, but display a genuine curiosity and reverence.
It's kind of neat how some of the skulls still have
The
teeth
next
in
day,
them.
we hear about a massive funeral on the outskirts of Rantepao City, and are curious to see how present-day Torajans send off their dead.
Oh, I would be hella curious.
These funerals or Rambu Solo can last for several weeks. It's an explosion of sounds, sights, and smells. We enter cautiously, not wanting to disrespect the mourning family. But as they perform their rituals, we're surprised at how eagerly they welcome us, telling us their dead father is honored to have more guests send him off, especially foreigners like us who have come from afar. Hundreds stream in, bringing lavish gifts. A pig, we're told, costs up to $700, and that's more than half a year's wages for many here. For the Torajans, the funeral is the most important event in one's life, and no expense is spared.
There's a special funeral like this, and it spend much money. There must have 24 buffalo, maybe 100 pigs.
Jesus.
Funerals, we learn, are an assertion of class and status in Toraja. The most lavish ones for the nobility can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many families go into heavy debt just to finance this extravagant display.
That's insane.
Expensive gifts from guests must also eventually be returned during their family's funerals, creating an endless loop of reciprocity.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're spending, like, 10, 20 times like a yearly salary to give an expensive gift at one person's funeral. When like, so like if my dad died and someone gave like a super expensive like gold talisman at my dad's funeral, when like their sister died, it would make sense that I package that, you know, little trinket up and then give it as a gift at the sister's funeral. That makes a lot of sense, especially considering how expensive everything is. It's crazy how $700 is more than half a year's wages there, but here it's not even a mortgage payment. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You unironically want your family to toss you out when you die, just remember you and enjoy your wealth. The last thing you want is to put them in debt. I mean, again, like, we're looking at a cultural tradition that is very, very far out of the norm of, like, what we experience in the West. And it's, like, it's very fascinating to see how a different culture handles this kind of thing. Because, like, I would never want to live in a house with a corpse for up to 15 years. Ain't no way, dude. Ain't no way. I'd be terrified.
And while this creates strong communal bonds, it also leads to an endless debt cycle. A crippling burden some younger Torajans want to escape. Mourners gather to chant sacred poems for the deceased patriarch, singing and dancing about his childhood and the memorable moments in his life. The Mabadong, or the Dance of Death, is one of the most important rituals and can go on for 3 days and 3 nights. What strikes us is that the overall mood of the funeral is happy. It's a celebration by most counts. That's because death is not an end for the Torajans, but a chance for the dead to enter a new state of being.
If we do this ceremony, it means a lot to him or her. Penghormatan kepada
the funeral will allow the dead to reach the highest or best place in heaven.
Dibawa ke tempat yang paling tinggi in heaven.
We visit another funeral and see dozens of buffaloes with their handlers. They tell us they're getting ready for one of the most important parts of the funeral, the buffalo slaughter. What we see next is disturbing, and we struggle to come to terms with it as just part of a unique cultural event.
I'm guessing they're about to slaughter all of these buffalo, mods, am I allowed to show ritualistic animal sacrifice in a funeral procession?
No.
Can I show that on Twitch? Audio only? It might have to be, probably not. Just to be safe, you know, because I'm sure there's still some freaks just itching to fucking report me. We'll just turn off the video.
This event, while gruesome, is important to the Torajans, who believe the slaughtered buffaloes
there are women recording this on their iPhones.
Carry the soul of the dead to paradise, which they call Puya. For the wealthy, a special type of albino buffalo is sacrificed, costing tens of thousands of dollars each.
Hold on. I can show you this because this isn't bloody, but like look at this fucking cool ass albino buffalo.
Buffalo is sacrificed, costing tens of thousands of dollars each.
I've never seen an albino buffalo. That looks cool.
After these slaughters, nothing is wasted. All the meat is divided and given to the guests, clan, and villagers, who will eat the skin.
Oh my god, they're carving it just like in my Black Desert and my Red Dead Redemption. The games are very accurate.
Oh, that's a lot of blood.
Organs, basically everything. Even the horns are kept and used in crafting.
It's just like my video
After the
game.
sacrifice, the family prepares to serve lunch, and we're invited to join them in the family pavilion. Buffalo offal, stomach, liver, and intestines are served. The meat and skin are stewed in special spices for several hours to soften them. And then, it's time to eat.
I don't think I would eat the offal, chat. The offal does not look delicious to me. You know, no offense to their cultural tradition, but offal looks kind of gross.
It's the final day of the funeral, and after the buffalo sacrifice, the family sings a hymn of Christ's undying love.
There's the man!
They've made a tau-tau, or wooden effigy of their dead patriarch, which they believe
Whoa,
his spirit.
bro, wait a second, hold on.
It's the final day of the funeral, and after the buffalo sacrifice, the family sings a hymn of Christ.
I thought this was the corpse. If that's the tau-tau, that is incredibly impressive. Where's the close-up again?
They've made
That is insanely impressive for a statue. Holy shit! He carved that out. No, it's not out of cheese. It's out of wood, chatter. No way that's wood. Yeah, that is incredible craftsmanship. Holy fuck. I am very impressed.
a tautau, or wooden effigy of their dead patriarch, which they believe his spirit will live on through and protect his family members.
I hope they show the cliffside with a whole bunch of tautaus on it. They
Torajans
said
are
that they
mostly
put them up
Christians,
high to
but
watch over the
combine their
village.
faith with local customs and beliefs. The family prepare for their father's final send-off and bring his body to its resting place.
Dude, he gets swords?
Dozens of family members carry the patriarch's effigy up a steep incline.
This looks like it would be very difficult to do with the casket. Like,
His
holy
body
shit.
soon follows. Bystanders throw water at the boisterous coffin bearers, and the entire procession feels more like a party than a funeral.
Oh no, it's falling.
In Toraja, death is not an end, but a new beginning, when a person passes from the realm of the living to join the ancestors. And from this new state of being, they can protect the living. The coffin now is carried into the family
Hello,
crypt.
Jesus. Fun
other-
reminder, the Torajans are a tiny enclave of Christianity in an otherwise overwhelmingly Muslim country.
Dead family members are waiting. The patriarch's wife passed on 2 years before. Now, they're reunited in death.
That's so cute!
That's really cute.
Family members
I
gather
enjoy
for a
that.
selfie with the coffins and say their goodbyes. After several weeks of rituals, it's finally over. The living depart, but the dead remain. Constrained no longer by mortality, they will keep watch over the living. But we had more to discover about Toraja and found an even more bizarre death ritual that only happens once in 3 years. Join us for our second part as we track down the Torajan Festival of the Dead.
Oh, I want to join.
Where family members exhume the graves of their dead relatives.
Oh, I want to join.
and
Where's the
their
video?
corpses.
Yo, she fucking classy. Look
As
at
we're
that.
self-funded indie content creators, your subscription will go a long way in helping us discover and tell more stories like this.
Hold on, I gotta find the next video.
Mama, say gendong ko, Mama. Uy,
They
It's
have
not
this
quite the
minute-long
usual
one.
family portrait, but villagers in Toraja, Indonesia are digging up their dead relatives and taking selfies with them. This is part of the Manenet festival, which happens only in remote mountain villages. Locals clean the mummified corpses of their loved ones, talk to them, and change their clothes as a sign of love and respect. We took several days to track down this ritual, and it was pretty amazing. You'd imagine the corpses to smell terrible, but at most they smelled like a musty cupboard.
That
And that's
is
because
impressive.
locals do a great job preserving them. Also, there was
That's a
no
cool
mourning,
shirt.
no cringing, just smiles all round as
fucking
doing this brings
glasses,
luck.
we believe that every month, every day, he gave us more happy, more money, more material. Okay.
So it's goodbye for now, and back to their tombs. Next year, they'll meet again.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
And then there's one with tombs here.
Nestled deep in the mountains in Sulawesi, Indonesia, one tribe has a unique burial.
This looks so fucking cool. They have like all these like little carved places with the tautaus hanging out. This is exactly what I wanted to see in that other video.
Practice. The Torajans preserve their dead in these tombs, carved into mysterious giant boulders or cliffs that are scattered throughout the highlands. The tombs are massive holes that are hand-carved and take years to finish. Some families even create wooden effigies of those passed on called tautaus. We found one tomb that was being cleaned and were given a rare glimpse inside.
That is gotta be one of the most exciting things to like experience. Right, like normally people don't get to go inside of the tombs, but like since one is being cleaned, like you have that rare opportunity. That's so fucking cool, man.
Their favorite belongings are also placed in the tomb, like this straw hat, for them to use in the afterlife. While this might sound scary to some, to the Torajans, it is a way of life, or rather, of death.
Man, where's the second video? I'm upset. I wanted to watch the second video, man. Where's my part 2? Fucking Another Life channel. Cannot find part 2? Maybe they never made it and released it? That's so upsetting. That's so upsetting. Where's the part 2? Grandma was a longsword main. It's interesting from an intellectual curiosity perspective to an extent. Yeah, I love learning about this shit, man. Definitely not a culture, like, tradition that I would want to adopt in my own life. I do not wish to live with corpses. No thank you. No thank you. But it's fascinating to learn about. And it definitely has some, like, really neat aspects to it.